What is up, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. I know it's been a while since my last video, but I promise I haven't forgot about you. My new job has been devouring all my time recently, but in a few weeks' time, I should be back on a more consistent schedule for making videos. In today's video, I will be going over two different legendary REs that I have theory crafted and wanted to put out to the community for you all to think about. They will be closely related in the basic function of the REs, but one will be for tanking and one will be for DPS. If you like this video and want to show me some love back, remember that it only takes a few seconds, but subscribing below and leaving a like will get this video out to as many people as possible. Let's dive into the video. Let's start things off by going over the tanking RE first. Since tanking is my passion and the thing I love to do more than anything, I figured I'd give you all this one first, just so you can think on it a little longer. The name for this legendary RE will be twice as wild. Let's pull up the graphic for this RE so we can go over it together. While dual wielding, you learn the ability twice as wild. Your melee hits apply a buff on you called Wild Conviction, which reduces your damage taken by 2%, stacking up to 10 times. Every time your melee attack is dodged, blocked, or parried, you lose a stack of Wild Conviction. After reaching 10 stacks, you burst into an untamable rage, consuming all stacks of Wild Conviction. While under the effect of Untamable Rage, you have 40% damage reduction and your Shaman Weapon Enchants gain additional effects. When your Frost brand weapon deals damage, you gain parry rating equal to 15% of your Frost spell power for 6 seconds. When your Wind Fury weapon deals damage, you gain dodge rating equal to 25% of your agility for 6 seconds. If your weapon is enchanted with Rockbiter weapon, your melee ability critical strikes increase your block value by 50% of the damage dealt for 6 seconds. These effects can be active at the same time and have a 6-second cooldown each. The main idea behind this RE is that I want to see a proper dual wield tank to be a thing in Project Ascension. The hardest thing to balance is tanking, and having an archetype that isn't a bear, two-handed parry, or shield is a hard task to overcome. But with the fantasy of having a shaman tank be in the zeitgeist of WoW players since retail vanilla, I figured Project Ascension would be the perfect place to see it come to life. So let's break it down a little further. You gain a stacking damage reduction buff from your white hits, and you lose a stack when one is dodged, blocked, or parried. That's the first gearing hurdle you have to overcome, finding the balance between raw melee haste to stack them quickly versus having the hit rating and expertise required to reach 10 stacks. Since you can have both Untamable Rage and Wild Conviction on at the same time, this introduces yet another choice on how to build around this RE. You could either focus on heavy, slower hitting abilities with more stats to capitalize on the enhanced weapon shaman effects, or faster, less powerful skills to sustain a higher uptime on the damage reduction buffs. The choice in which weapon enchant you choose for the fight also adds an element of gameplay where you could swap enchants mid-fight to adapt to the counter as it plays out in real time. This would add an incredibly dynamic playstyle that, in my opinion, would be far more interesting than using a cooldown to mitigate a fierce blow, whenever those actually go live. Moving on to the DPS Legendary Re, 100-Handed Assault. While dual wielding, you learn the ability 100-Handed Assault. Your main hand melee hits grant you a buff that increases your ability damage by 1% lasting 10 seconds, stacking up to 100 times. Your melee offhand misses remove 1 stack of 100-Handed Assault. Using melee abilities while you have a stack of 100-Handed Assault makes them deal 0 damage, granting you a thrash counter. After reaching 100 stacks of 100-Handed Assault, you consume all thrash counters and all 100-Handed Assault counters, unleashing a torrent of attacks upon your enemy. Each ability used before consuming the thrash counters will then be repeated on the enemy in the order in which they were used. After using a physical damage ability, your next non-physical damage ability will deal an additional 50% damage. After using a non-physical damage ability, your next physical damage ability will deal an additional 50% damage. Once your energy, rage, or mana reaches 0, you will become overexerted for 10 seconds. While you are overexerted, you cannot gain stacks of 100-Handed Assault. I know this is kind of a word salad, but let me try and break down this concept a little bit more so it might not be as confusing. First thing, I wanted a pure auto attack based legendary RE in the game. I missed the old days of combat TBC rogue stacking as much hit as possible, and I wanted to recapture some of that flavor. Second thing, the thrash counters are a sort of quote-unquote storage mechanic where it keeps track of which ability you used and in which order. The stacking ability damage you gain from the first part is factored in and will in a sense snapshot the extra damage depending on how many stacks you had when the ability was used. Third thing, the idea behind having them keep track of the order in which they were used feeds into the last part of the RE. I wanted this to be a thinking man's RE, where you will set up physical and non-physical abilities in a massive chain attack that is then unleashed all at once. Kind of like Zell from Final Fantasy VIII, where you can combo off as long as you meet the time restrictions. I wanted this to be a similar concept, but with resources like energy, rage, and mana. This is where the high-level thinking comes into play. Think about it this way. If you stack too many rogue abilities back to back, you will run out of energy and your combo attack will stop early. Same goes for mana and rage. So my thought process was that if you build around it correctly and space out your abilities, your resource regeneration and cooldowns allow you, the player, to fit in more abilities into your combo attack at the end. This would encourage a never-before-seen level of intuition and gameplay awareness that rewards you, the player, for taking the extra time to properly set yourself up for success. Alright guys, that is going to be it for this video. I know it's a little bit of a shorter one, but I don't want to drag this out any longer than I have to. What did you all think about these ideas? I would love to hear some feedback, so feel free to post it down in the comments below, and I will leave a link to the Discord thread where you can either upvote or downvote the suggestion on the official Project Ascension Discord. And with that, this video is done. Subscribe below for more content. I will see you in the next one.